Siu Ching for this sharing session of episode 23. It's purely based on my on the level that I could comprehend. Yeah. Before going straight to episode 23, let's have a quick recap of the key events of this episode 22. At the ceremony of Emperor Yang Guang, hereinafter referred to as Emperor Yang, yeah, at Chanzhong Temple in 591 CE, Master explained that precepts are like the root of a tree or the foundation of a house. Upholding the precepts is just the basics of the three studies, which reflect the determination to get away from suffering and the faith in Buddha's teachings. The good and evil in the world result from the mind. If one doesn't follow precepts completely, one will not attain samadhi and wisdom. At the ceremony, Master had given Emperor Yang the Dharma name as Zhongchi, with the hope that Emperor Yang could follow the Dharma, uphold the precepts, and be the loving parent of his people, and support Buddhism in China. In return, Emperor Yang presented a title to Master called the Great Master ZhiZhe, for Master's remarkable wisdom, selfless dedication in passing the Buddha's wisdom, and promoting profound teachings. In another session of Dharma teaching, Master ZhiZhe explained Buddha showed 84,000 ways of spiritual cultivation throughout the 49 years of Dharma teachings to help the people gain enlightenment in gradual ways. These different ways originated from the Buddha's single heart and hence shared the same principle of spiritual liberation. Master commented, fighting over which is the best deviated from true purpose. It is with this clarity that Master managed to put an end to all the arguments among the different schools. Master is regarded as the king of Buddhism, having successfully combined the northern and southern schools. After Master had fulfilled his promise on imparting precepts and Dharma teachings in the Yang Prefecture, Master decided to leave for his hometown, the Jing Prefecture, to expound the Dharma. Emperor Yang respected Master's decision and kept his promise not to stop Master. On the way to his hometown, Master stopped in Hengshan to pay tribute to his late mentor, Master Huisi. This was after 25 years since their last bid farewell in Dashusan. Master had always kept Master Huisi's last words in mind, in not letting himself be the last bearer of the Buddha's teachings. This is an overview of episode 23. After paying tribute to mentor Master Huisi in Hengshan, Master embarked on the journey in spreading the Dharma. Firstly, Master went back to his hometown, the Jing Prefecture, in 593 CE, and started to spread the Dharma at Yichuan Temple. Master had later accepted Emperor Yang's invitation to spread the Dharma in the Yang Prefecture despite his old age. At the tomb of Master Huisi in Hengshan, Master ZhiZhe missed his mentor so much, just like a child missing the parent. Master's thought spread across the universe and breaking boundaries and space and time. Master ZhiZhe could feel the presence of Master Huisi. The bonds between them were not hindered. Master ZhiZhe was there to pay tribute to Master Huisi without bidding farewell, because Master ZhiZhe had a feeling of togetherness with his late mentor on the path of spreading the Dharma. When it was almost time to leave, Master ZhiZhe had a vivid recollection of Master Huisi's advice. The true Dharma combines theory and practice flawlessly. It puts equal emphasis on meditation and the study of Buddhist doctrines. It also proposes the idea of the 3,000 realms in a single moment of life, and classified Buddhist sutras into the 5 periods and 8 teachings. The Lotus Sutra reveals the highest truth of the Dharma, that is, everyone can become a Buddha. Based on this doctrine, Master ZhiZhe constructed a philosophical system to explain why it is possible for sentient beings to become Buddhas with the principle of 3,000 realms in a single moment of life. This principle is documented in one of the 3 great Tiantai treatises called the Great Calming and Contemplation. This is the core doctrine of the Buddha's teaching. It is the basic Buddhist life philosophy which indicates the vast complexity and inexhaustible potential that life possesses. Everyone has unlimited possibilities. The number 3,000 is the result of multiplying the laws of life that are actually presented in reality. It is an integration of the 10 worlds, their mutual possession, the 10 factors, and the 3 realms of existence: body, mind, and environment. This jurisprudence states that everyone is a small universe. Life at each moment is endowed with the 10 worlds. At the same time, each of the 10 worlds is endowed with all 10 worlds. So an entity of life actually possesses 100 worlds. Each 100 worlds has the same 10 factors, which give rise to 1,000 factors. Each 1,000 factors possesses 3 realms. These figures multiply to 3,000. In the expansion of the 100 worlds into 1,000 factors and 3,000 realms, it is clear that sentient beings and their insentient environments constitute one great entity of life. The 3,000 realms of existence are all possessed by life in a single moment. This principle clarifies that life is not fixed in a certain state, but any other state, though dormant, may appear at any moment. Life is constantly changing, and every moment in life contains countless visible and invisible possibilities. The most important reality is that the Buddha world exists in everyone's life. Through uninterrupted Buddhist practice, we strive for the happiness of ourselves and others, abandon our prejudices and wrong ideas, and temper our own compassion and wisdom, so that we can consolidate the Buddha world inherent in life. The Buddhist world is not an abstract concept. It will be manifested in our daily behavior as compassion and wisdom. Now, briefly on the 5 periods and 8 teachings. Master classified the Buddha's sutras into 5 periods and 8 teachings according to the order in which they were expounded. The 5 periods refer to the periods in the life of the Buddha in which he delivered different teachings aimed at different audiences with different levels of understanding. That is according to the people's intellectual abilities. The 8 teachings are divided into 2 groups: the 4 teachings of doctrine and the 4 teachings of method. Tiantai sect follow this classification and is actually documented in the profound meaning of the Lotus Sutra, one of the 3 great Tiantai treatises. After leaving Hengshan, Master ZhiZhe went back to his hometown, the Jing prefecture, in 593 CE and started to spread the Dharma at Yuquan Temple. Initially, the prefecture lord suspected the people gathered at the temple to cause riot and wanted to arrest them for interrogation. The prefecture lord had also put an order to ban crowd gathering and Dharma teaching at Yichuan Temple, even though Master had testified that all the people were there simply because they yearned to listen to the Dharma. Luckily, Emperor Yang's envoy reached the scene in time to stop the prefecture lord's action. It is the emperor's wish to safeguard Yichuan Temple as a perpetual alms giver and pay tribute to Master as a disciple. Based on the decree issued by Emperor Yang, the prefecture lord obeyed the imperial order to allocate the local prefecture tax as tribute to Yichuan Temple from then on. During the 2 years stay at Yichuan Temple, Master had expounded the Lotus Sutra together with Ziguan Famen, which Master's disciple Guan Ding had transcribed into the contents into 3 volumes called 3 Tian-Tai treatises, namely the words and phrases of the Lotus Sutra, the profound meaning of the Lotus Sutra, and the great treatise of concentration and insight. These 3 Tian-Tai treatises are the essences of Master ZhiZhe's lifetime Dharma cultivation, which form the main basis of Tian-Tai school of Buddhism. Master ZhiZhe had advised us to act. Master ZhiZhe had advised us to act or behave in accordance with the commentary of the Lotus Sutra, be guided by the profound meaning of the Lotus Sutra, and consummate with the great treatise of concentration and insight, Ziguan Famen. Master explained there are many ways to attain enlightenment, but the most important theories lies in concentration and observation. Concentration and observation are the right path for all practitioners. Concentration can cultivate consciousness. Observation can spark wisdom. I have heard much about the Lotus Sutra, but not Ziguan Famen, concentration and observation. So I did more readings about this and wish to share what I could comprehend in the following slides. Concentration and observation are 2 qualities of mind to be developed through meditation. There are essential practices in the Buddha's teaching. Concentration is called Zhi in Chinese, Samatha in Sanskrit. It is about mental concentration. It is said to be by focusing the mind on a single object in order to make the mind still, stable, and calm. Samatha practice concentrates the mind, which helps to suppress the 5 hindrances and remove lust and craving. Observation, it is called Guan in Chinese, Vipassana in Sanskrit. Vipassana practice increases insight knowledge, facilitates clear seeing, seeing things as they really are. It removes ignorance, Wuming. Analytical knowledge and knowledge of causality are the foundations of Vipassana. For example, when the eye sees an object, for instance a book, eye consciousness arises. Likewise, when we smell, hear, taste, or touch something, nose, ear, tongue, and body consciousness arises respectively. In the case of eye consciousness, eyes and the book are material qualities. They are matters. They don't have the nature of knowing an object. It is eye consciousness that alone is mind. It is aware of the object. Seeing mind and matter as they really are, this is analytical knowledge of mind and matter. Eye consciousness does not appear by itself. until the meeting of the eyes and the book. As soon as these two meet, eye consciousness comes into being. So, eyes and the book are the cause, and eye consciousness is the effect. When we can comprehend mind matter with their causes, this knowledge is called knowledge of causality. Master DMZhiZhe emphasized that the wheels of both concentration and observation, insight, roll together steadily. Without any one of them, we may go astray. When complete and ready, a grand route leading the way to Nirvana will appear. Yes, Samatha and Vipassana are not independent of each other, but rather they are two indivisible facets of the same process. Calmness leads to insight, and in turn, insight leads to calmness. Calming is the essence of wisdom, and wisdom is the natural function of calming. It is just like the light of the lamp. When the lamp exists, there is light. When there is no lamp, there is darkness. The lamp is the essence of light. The light is the natural function of the lamp. The unification of Samatha and Vipassana leads to a very clear and direct experience of the nature of all things. This brings one very close to what is called the absolute truth, 真理. According to the Buddhist teachings, spiritual development is twofold, through tranquility and through insight. Concentration, samatha, subjugates the mental hindrances and makes the mind calm. The suppression of these hindrances can increase the power of samadhi, which thus facilitates special seeing and knowledge. The meditative development of insight yields liberating wisdom and enlightenment. What I could visualize is, in summary, the process of practicing concentration and observation in calming the agitated mind to abandon disturbing emotions for clear seeing is just like letting the muddy water sit still for a while before we could see through it clearly. Preparations are necessary in every work. For example, if we want to cook rice, it is necessary to prepare. If we want to sow a seed, we must prepare the soil first. Likewise, before starting to practice samatha or vipassana, we firstly have to purify our morality by upholding the 5 fundamental precepts, which are the very basic standards of Buddhist morality. Today we have 10, yeah. The precepts are commitments to abstain from killing living beings, stealing, sexual misconduct, lying, and intoxication. There are the basic rules of mental and spiritual hygiene, which act as barrier to evil mental impulses, evil deeds, and unwholesome tendencies, and thereby purifying our morality. This is the prerequisite to be able to attain enlightenment through mental concentration and clear seeing. Okay. From what I could comprehend, a premise on the points shared just now, Ziguan Famen is very similar to the 3 flawless studies of precepts, samadhi, and wisdom. It is from upholding the precepts that will help us to ward off wrongdoings and therefore enable us to calm mental disturbance and conflicting emotions. It is at the state of mind steadiness that we can have clear seeing to grow our wisdom, free ourselves from the fundamental ignorance that causes suffering. Wisdom allows us to take control of our mind and continue to uphold the precepts for ethical living. Samadhi also reminds me of this particular passage in the scriptures of Wu Liang Yi Jing, which Master Cheng Yen has used it to explain the true meaning of 金丝法脉。清寂清晨，知选熏墨，手之不东，一百千劫。清寂清晨，知选熏墨 is the realm of the mind. 清寂清晨 in particular is when our mind is calm. It is like water without any impurities, which is then crystal clear. Okay. Emperor Yang had later invited Master DMZhiZhe again to spread the Dharma in the Yang prefecture. Although feeling old then and not as strong as before in taking long journey from the Jing prefecture to the Yang prefecture, Master still felt he had enough strength to write books and expound the doctrines. So Master had decided to travel to the Yang prefecture with the aim to complete the spreading of Dharma in writing. In the Yang prefecture, Master had personally completed Vimala Kriti Sutra and presented it to the Emperor, to Emperor Yang as a gift. Emperor Yang promised Master that all expounding of Vimala Kriti Sutra in the future will be based on this annotated version to pass on Master's invaluable insights and theory. And it's time for Master to leave the Yang prefecture. Master was already at his late 50s and wished to return to Tian Tai San to expound the Dharma to his disciples. When Emperor Yang wished to repay Master's kind return to the Yang prefecture to expound the Dharma, Master commented that he cared for all sentient beings. And if Emperor Yang could do the same, that would be the best gift for Master. Master's compassion is just like the Buddha, having a very deep concern for all the distressed sentient beings in this world. The Buddha showed much compassion in his constant actions of helping sentient beings. Master exhorted the Emperor Yang not to ruin the long-term hard work and efforts by a wayward step, as all kindness stems from a rightful thought. All evil arises from careless desire. Master reminded Emperor Yang to bear this in mind. The achievements enjoyed now are due to efforts in the past and the present. As for the future, it will depend entirely on what Emperor Yang would do. What Master had advised is actually the law of cause and effect, which is the foundation and the most important doctrine of Buddhism. The law is not created by the Buddha, but it is the natural law of the universe, discovered by the Buddha. Believing in cause and effect is the basic belief of the Dharma. Every effect has a cause and a condition. A cause and a condition combine to make an effect. Our deeds and our actions determine our fate. What we sow, we shall reap. Throughout life, we perform countless deeds with the body, mouth, and mind. These are the seeds which create our fate. The mind is performing them the most and has the strongest power. What moves the body and mouth is the mind. There are three core principles. Good causes bring good effects, as we know. Bad causes bring bad effects. Own causes bring own effects. The law of cause and effect penetrates the three worlds and 10 directions. The 3 worlds are the past, the present, and the future. The 10 directions are north, south, east, west, northeast, northwest, southeast, southwest, up and down. These 3 worlds represent all time, infinity, always. The 10 directions means any place, everywhere on the earth. So the law of cause and effect is applicable everywhere. Buddhism teaches that there are 8 minds within human beings. 7 of them disappear at death with the physical body, but our true self, also referred to as the alaya mind, remains. The alaya mind is our self since the countless ages past. It is the invisible flow of life. Even without knowing the law of cause and effect, the actions of the body, mouth, and mind are converted into invisible karmic power, which is stored in the alaya mind. Karmic power lasts forever, and it never disappears. So, the karmic power within the alaya mind flows through the 3 worlds, the past, present, and future. At birth, we receive the effects of certain characteristics like being Chinese, male or female, etc. These different effects were determined in the past life and the past world. It is not accident, it does not occur without cause. Karmic power from the past flow into the present life. Our parents are the condition. To know the cause of the past, look at the present. To look at the future, look at cause in the present. This concept penetrates the 3 worlds. Our future is contained within the causes of our present. We have to look deeply at ourselves and the actions of our body, mouth, and mind. As what this DMZhiZhe aphorism says, speak kind words, think good thoughts, do good deeds, and walk the right path. Emperor Yang commented, no matter what he did, he could never repay Master's kindness. Hence, Emperor Yang had requested Master to state at least one wish for him to do something. Master finally expressed his wish for Emperor Yang to erect a stele in honor of his late mentor, Master Huisi, so that the future generations of Buddhists could commemorate his legacy. Emperor Yang was so touched by Master's wish and took it as his mission to fulfill it. This is the last slide of my sharing. Thank you for your attention. Cảm ơn.
Okay, thank you, SisWhyWhy. That was very impressive and also very, very enlightening. I think, first of all, very many gratitude for you to spend all the time to not only to go into the details of the episode, but also to explore things that you didn't know before. And I think that's the spirit where, as a disciple, Master showed us the direction, and we are going on that direction. But along the way, you're going to learn, perhaps it's, if the direction points to east, then perhaps at certain stages of the journey, you need to learn how to row a boat. Certain steps of the journey, you need to learn how to ride a bike. Certain levels, you need to learn how to walk. So in each part, we need to learn these things on our own. It's not the responsibility of the teacher to tell you everything, but rather you need to sort of pick it up. And then the hardest part is, while picking it up, not losing sight of where you want to go. So usually that's when Master was sharing with us. She was sort of afraid or not wanting us to sort of not lose our direction. Sometimes we focus a lot of the ancient or the teachings, and then we sort of get focused on the teaching itself, the academic teaching itself, with all these terminologies, and then we get very absorbed in it. Like I was very absorbed, very much into what you're sharing. All the 10 terminology and things like that, which I'm going to share with you later, and then sort of forgot that our direction was the direction that our master gave us, which is to the east, for example. So I think that's very important, is to along the way learn the things, the skills that we didn't know before, but at the same time not forgetting that our direction is toward that. So a couple of things that I wanted to share with you with all the notes that I took, because it was very informative. So obviously you start off by the precept. Okay, so you start off by going to the previous episode, and then going on to this episode. I felt that one of the things that you mentioned was the connection between Master DMZhiZhe and also his teacher, that he felt as if, very vividly, that the master was right there explaining something and telling him something. So that's where, sort of alluded to that the 3,000, the idea or the concept of that, began to foster and grow. And I wanted to focus on that part. I think just like what you mentioned before, what did Master say? When you read these things, when you read into 止观, 摩诃止观, or when you read into the 8 consciousness, when you read into the law of cause and effect, you always tie it back to what Master said. And I think that's very crucial and essential, in that, it's almost like, and this analogy I think everybody would get, is that, you would proceed with your life, and then you would hit somewhere. For example, maybe your boss or maybe someone would tell you, I just don't think you have enough education to get this job. And then it will hit you. Like, my dad used to tell me that if I didn't study hard enough, I am going, that's the exact connection, and when I tell you that, you sort of get it right away, because that's what we experience all the time. Like, you need to study hard, and then you get a good job, and you get a good life, etc. Right? And we sort of, maybe we believe it, maybe we don't. But then there will be a time when it hits you, and you go like, oh my goodness, my dad was right. So the same thing is true in Dharma. Master's teachings are all there, right? And how many moments like that do we have? How many moments of that do we like, I get it now. That's what Master was saying. And that's what we need to do, to connect our life experiences to Master's teaching. But that's hard. It's easy. It's very easy to sort of pick up what your dad or your mom used to say, like, oh, be always washing your hands before you eat. And then, all of a sudden one day you get, stomach flu, and you go like, oh, geez, that's because I didn't, wash my hands. Something like that is very simple and straightforward, and you connect it right away. But in Dharma, that's what we need to do. So I think that the very important thing about connecting to your master and connecting the connection between the master and the disciple, it really depends on how deep you put those words. So I'm a very image kind of guy, like if you put the words in, if you read something to me, the reflections and the memory would be sort of very light. And if I see it in words, or if I hear it, then it's a little bit deeper. But the strongest part for me is the image, the imagery, seeing the master and hearing the master, and that imagery is really powerful. And that's what I usually do, is I try to memorize the sound and the voice of the master when she said certain things. So I try very hard to memorize that feeling. It's not just the sound, but at that moment, what me as a disciple feel that what my master was trying to tell me at that moment. You know, for example, there was a brother who came to the abode to repent for what he had done wrong. And I explained to him, remember that moment when Master looked down at you and told you that what you have done isn't what I taught you. This is not part of the precept that I taught you. And remember that feeling. Remember the imagery of Master looking down at you and the feeling of disappointment in her tone. Yet she was trying to uplift you and to give you another more strength to go on. Okay, so that's what I meant, you know. And I think in drama, it's easy to sort of do that by, you know, having the video sort of just come out and you have Master Huisi just show up on the side of the corner. But that's not fake. It's real. You know, that's how we were trying to be connected. And that brings me to the last part that you talked about, which is the consciousness. I think talking about, there has been countless studies and many sages and all the grandmasters talking about the consciousness, and you can read up on that, which you did, which I think I'm very grateful, because you gave us a very good review of all of this, and sometimes even clarify, you know, certain things that probably, you know, sometimes some concept might be difficult to understand. For me, I think out of all these studies, I think the most important part for me is that the idea of a farmer. Okay, like you mentioned, right? What you have received now is what you have done before. And what you're going to receive is what you're doing now, right? So the idea is that Master talks about, and also Buddhism, there's always this analogy of a farmer. And the farmer, you know, tries to put the right condition, right? There's the soil, you work, cultivate the land, and you do, you know, the fertilizer, the sun, all of that. But the most important thing, I think, out of all that is, as a farmer, you get to decide what you plant. And that is the most active element in all of this law of cause and effect, is you get to decide. You get to decide what you plant, what you grow. You get to decide. So even though there's, then it goes back into the 3,000-fold of the worlds, right? You talk about the endless possibilities. I think you've done, you know, SisWhyWhy, you gave a very, the visual presentation was great. Okay, you're talking about, you know, there was a picture, I can still remember, right? There's a picture of all these arrows with the possibilities, right? And the mind spewing off countless possibilities. But out of all these countless possibilities, you know, sometimes you plant, you know, watermelon, but the soil isn't good, or the fertilizer isn't good, or it just doesn't rain, or it doesn't have sun, all of that, right? All the conditions might not be there, but you still get to plant. You get to choose what to plant. And that's the key. Things might not go out your way, right? Like you can choose to be a vegetarian, but the world still goes into decay. It's not because you chose to be a vegetarian, it's just because the condition wasn't there. But you choose, you get to choose. And I think that is the very major, one of the biggest thing, me, when I was growing up to be a Buddhist, the biggest thing that I get to feel is that, no, the destiny wasn't chosen for me. We can choose. We learned the Dharma so that we knew how we got here. Now we have the power, just like anyone else, just like the Buddha. We can choose how to direct our future. And now we have all the tools to get there. Whether we get there or not, well, that's up to the conditions and all of that. But we get to choose. And the idea is that you get to choose to grow, to plant what vegetable and what fruit. And eventually, you're going to get that. It might not be now, it might not be tomorrow, but you're going to get that. And I think that's a very, very positive energy in all of this. It's not very it's not pessimistic at all. It's a very, very, I think it's the newfound, but it has been there all along. But people just have very, you know, all ideas about how Buddhists used to be very pessimistic, but it's not, okay? So now it goes back into 止观, which I love what you have done, because I think many people, including myself, we are not quite well versed in this part. You know, it's like this, you know, our master doesn't tell many things like this, and so we don't spend time into that, but we should know these things, right? So thank you. You were very honest too. You said, I didn't know either, so I did some time to study, well, which I think it's a very good mentality. So you share with us what you found. Thank you. Okay, so the moment you talk about 止观, which, you know, I heard before, but the moment you start sharing what this is, right, it's about concentration and it's about the observation. These two parts, right? The moment you talk about that, the first thing that came to my mind was 静思, and that was like a perfect match. You know, 止观 and 静思. It's sort of the same. It's different character, but it's the same idea. How you need to find the calmness, right? 止 and 静. And then you had to observe 观 and 思. It's the same. So now that means what Master has been sharing with us is these ideas, they're there. But then I extended, right? So you went on to mention about these two, you know, these two properties or these two actions, how they can merge and what they actually mean. And then I, instead of staying there to focus on 止 and 观 or 静 and 思, I remember what Master mentioned about 静思. So it's the verse 静思法脉情形 get it. And that's when I actually remember seeing, maybe it was 智者大师 or somewhere, about 止观. He did a comparison between 止 and 观, the two characters, right? So he said it must be the balance of two, which you mentioned today. It would be as if you're falling asleep. You're just dreaming because too much stillness and calmness, you fell asleep. There's not enough activity, not enough action to. And then on the other part, if you have too much 观, but you're just always moving, you're not focused, you're not concentrated, you're not calm enough. So there has to be a perfect mix. And that perfect mix is the mix between still and the mix between action. And 止观, at that moment, I felt, didn't carry out enough to talk about action. And maybe there is. It's just not in the character, but in the teaching, I'm sure there's more follow-up. Because 止观 tells you to be a very third-person perspective. You know, be calm and observe the world. Observe the people around you. Observe the object, observe the manner, observe all the things that interact with each other. But you are outside of this, right? Which is very important, because if you're in it, then yourself is tangled up. But at the same time, what Master taught us was that it's not just you are sort of on the third party, but you need to be in it too, to feel their pain, to feel their need, to feel what they feel, but enough to be able to pull yourself out, so that when you're not there anymore, you can switch to a different sentiment to be able to work on different things. So I think it's definitely there. You know, there's so many things that you mentioned today, you know, that sort of open the new horizon, because, you know, we just didn't know. We're not good students. You know, Master said this and we're like, I don't quite get it, so we just skip over. Or Master said, you know, it was this 智者大师, and we're like, oh, that was very difficult, and I think that's why he's a grandmaster and I'm not, so we just skip over. But what you shared today, I think was very valuable to bring that to us, and I thank you for taking the time, okay, to learn something, to sort of relearn something, because I think we all knew this, or it's not know, but we sort of understand it, but we don't quite know it enough to be able to say it. Okay, so I think that's filled with gratitude. That's all I can say. no words can express, you know, how I felt, you know, while I'm listening to your sharing. Many information that's for me to digest, and I'm still turning, but it's very informative. Thank you. So thank you, sister.
SisWhyWhy was such amazing sharing, and Brother Joe. So, anyone have questions for Brother Joe? SisWhyWhy? Okay, anyone with questions? Because it's it has already exceeded our time slightly. Okay, before that, okay, sorry, there is an announcement for us. For many of us joining tomorrow's session, there will be some changes in the Zoom link. There will be a YouTube link shared later. Please look at the chat group. We will share in all the various chat groups the latest link. I'm so sorry for this last minute notice. Okay, how? Okay, someone. Wow, today really informative. Okay, you can see a lot of messages in the chat group. Agree. Actually, SisWhyWhy, 真的是 I'm very grateful for all this. Like, I agree with what Brother Joe said. We may have no need, but to put in such perspective, so detailed and easier to connect. Like what SisWhyWhy has done. It's not easy. You have today. We know this is the third last episode. We will have 2 more sharings before the end of this DharmaTraining. The 2 episodes will be shared next month. So let us watch out for the schedule. It should be the 2nd and 3rd Friday, not to be missed. The last 2 sharing, it will be as wonderful as today. How? Yeah, I agree. As Sister Irene said, very well researched. We all agree. And Brother Joe for such good explanation. If there is no questions, we will call it a night, and we proceed for tomorrow, because there will be chanting for chapter 3 of Sutra of Infinite Meaning. Hope that more people can join. We will start the chanting at 6. Before we proceed to 7 o'clock for Sister Yachi. Sister Yachi, South Africa, she will share first before we go to the explanation of chapter 3 by Brother Joe. Do seize this opportunity, because normally what we hear from South Africa is the wonderful insights on how they do the Bodhisattva, how they walk the Bodhisattva mission, but this is how they groom, those Bodhisattva. So this is really very good for many of us who wish to be benefactors for others, as well as mutual benefactors. How Gaan. Okay, thank you, brothers and sisters, for your presence. Of course, very grateful to SisWhyWhy and Brother Joe for such wonderful sharing tonight. I'm sure many of us are very, we are so touched and overwhelmed by all this. SisWhyWhy will share her PPT later. We will put in a group later. Hope that each of us could sustain the Dharma joy and take in another piece of Dharma Master and Hua and love to our life. Let us please make 3 bows to the Buddha and Dharma Master as we depart to apply these teachings in our daily life. Palms together. First bow. Second bow. Third bow. Okay, and everyone, see everyone tomorrow. We'll share the latest Zoom link and YouTube link in the various chat group. Watch out for it. Okay, hope to see everyone tomorrow. Today, we have a record breaking 82%. And everyone for the good support.
Good night. Good night.
Good night. See you tomorrow.
Bye bye.
Night.